It almost killed me. I was in a coma for 5 days.
Coming up on Frontiers, synthetic marijuana, also known as spice. Scenes like this play out almost every day at Beans Cafe. Some are determined to smoke it, despite the dangers.
One of the scariest parts about it is a person using this product has no idea what they're using.
Samples of spice taken from those rushed to the hospital show it's laced with deadly chemicals, many times the strength of marijuana. And spice patients aren't the only ones at risk, while others in need of emergency care may not get the help they need in time.
Sponsorship for Frontiers with Rhonda McBride is provided by Kupik Corporation and Spenard Builders Supply. Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers, with challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come, bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to our show. Sometimes we explore frontiers that can seem overwhelming. Well, this week we take you to ground zero of Anchorage's spice problem, to Beans Cafe, where the homeless congregate for meals and comfort from the cold. Just a warning, some of what you will see and hear is disturbing and not for small children.
I seen a lot of people die. And I was almost one of them. Doctor told me I died, but they resuscitated me.
Here, death is a part of life, more so than for most.
All my friends are dying from spice.
That's what Vernita Tinker suspects.
Alcohol mixed with spice. Even little Jolene.
Little Jolene Rose Odeman, her body found in a tent this summer. Although spice was not the official cause of her death, Vernita believes it was a factor.
But she wouldn't give it up. Cheaper than dope.
We asked everyone here to share what they know about spice. Only a few offered their insights.
I'm not sure why they do it, maybe just for that simple high, but it's not so simple.
I'm a drunk. That's all I do is drink.
Swandi Norback says alcohol is bad, but spice is worse.
Pull your head out of your ass and look around, because this is our new epidemic.
The stakes are high when you're homeless. With almost every hand that's dealt, you gamble with your life.
That's the cheapest high they can get.
Swandi says a spice joint is only $5, much cheaper than alcohol, which makes homeless addicts an easy target for dealers. But is it right?
Hell no. They ain't got much money, but guess what? Those are my people. Don't do that to me. I care for every one of them.
It stinks. Oh, man. Make you want to puke even.
Like many here at Beans, Teddy Segavan has been hospitalized for a comatose reaction to spice. And as we talk, a young man named Jeff keeps interrupting us.
Do you have any spice?
I'd say
smoke spice?
I did before, but I would say nope. I don't smoke it no more.
Jeff wants us to interview him, and we promise we'll do that after we're done talking with Teddy. But Jeff goes off in search of spice, apparently not too hard to find. Minutes later, we see him smoking something.
What were you just smoking?
I smoked some tobacco, and then I smoked some spice.
Jeff's meltdown happens fast. First, he stumbles.
Be careful there.
Swerve is the word.
Now, I heard you went to the hospital the other day.
Oh. They said I went there the last...
Soon, Jeff is incoherent.
Can you sit down, please?
Sure, one.
Come on, Jeff, sit down, bro.
In a matter of minutes, Jeff is drooling, unable to focus his eyes. The realization dawns. Jeff is the face of spice.
Beans Cafe at the bus stop.
Security guards have seen Jeff go through this before and know it won't be long before he'll be in a catatonic state.
One of our clients has hit a spice stick and now he's laid out here in the flower bed.
When help arrives, the emergency team tries to get Jeff to respond to questions, but with no success.
What's your name?
He still has a medical patch left over from an emergency run earlier in the week.
Really nasty, tasty.
A friend who was smoking spice with Jeff doesn't seem as affected.
Why is it that you think Jeff is more vulnerable to spice?
Because he's more drunk.
Jeff and Max Hutka go back a ways. They grew up in Anchorage and used to skateboard together as kids.
Don't you worry that you're going to wind up in the same boat as him?
I feel fortunate to not be dead or crazy, I guess.
If Jeff survives, these ambulances will probably be back again. If not for Jeff, then for someone else, caught in the vicious cycle of spice roulette.
Some of those at Beans told us that they were afraid to talk with us about it. They say that they feared retaliation from spice users as well as dealers. One woman told us that dealers accept food stamps in exchange for spice. Well, we've heard about the impacts on the streets, but how does spice affect the community at large?
All of our resources end up going, and that's not an exaggeration, all of our resources have at times gone to provide care for large clusters of spice patients.
Ahead, how a spike in cases threatens the safety of others.
I just want cremation.
Cremation specialist in Alaska.
Can I have a service before cremation?
Our staff is committed to serving your needs.
I just want something basic. The simpler, the better.
Specializing in simple cremations. Whatever your reasons are for choosing cremation, call Cremation Society of Alaska 277-2777 or in the Valley 373-8627 and on the web at alaskacremation.com.
We have a story of 27 families that put 18 months of their lives into building a village, a home for themselves and their future. Our Inupiaq culture goes back thousands of years, carried by a strong sense of community. Our relationship with our natural surroundings is at the heart of our culture. By investing in future generations through development that is balanced with the love of our land, the Kupi Corporation brings together traditions of the past with visions of the future.
At Spenard Builders Supply, we're thinking about color a little differently. Our Voice of Color touchscreens help you select just the right shade to bring your ideas to life and life to your ideas. Discover your perfect color. Find it at SBS. Interior and exterior paint, quality supplies, and unmatched expertise. Shop our inspired and exclusive Alaska Color Collection, named by fellow Alaskans, only at SBS.
Every day something's different, and I get really excited to report on stories in Alaska. I cover these stories. I need to be out there. I need to be experiencing all this stuff. I need to know. And Alaska is so big that you really have to get out there, because I think it's really important to meet people and cover their communities. There's just so many stories here that I could do a story for every day for the rest of my life and still have something new to tell in Alaska.
Spice goes by various names: K2 skunk, moon rocks, fake marijuana. But whatever you call it, it is dangerous. During the month of October, the Anchorage Fire Department transported about 1,600 patients. Out of those, more than 350 calls, or about a fifth, were related to spice use. Most of those were downtown, and there are no signs the worst is over.
Just advise if you need an MICU, all of them right now are 30 Carlick.
On a single day in October, emergency crews responded to 30 spice cases.
To us, this is uncharted territory. This is something that Philadelphia or Boston or somebody else would see. Our city has never seen anything like this.
Sometimes the medics witness zombie-like behavior. Other times,
They're pretty violent. We actually had a few injuries just a couple days ago. One of the responders got punched in the mouth. Oh, it's out of the movies. It really is. It's crazy.
bizarre cases like this woman believed to be on spice who stripped off her clothes and proceeded to trash this Subway shop.
They're sprayed onto something.
Dr. Michael Cooper is studying samples of spice police have taken from those rushed to the hospital. They were sent to a lab in the lower 48 for analysis. And early findings show the presence of a number of synthetic marijuana chemicals, 30 to 40% stronger than pot.
One of the scariest parts about it is a person using this product has no idea what they're using.
Medic 1 can be in service at regional when you need us.
Once the patient arrives in the emergency room, doctors can only deal with the symptoms.
They say that spice is like a shape-shifting drug, that anytime someone has a reaction to it, you don't know exactly what they're reacting to. Is that a problem in the ER?
Well, it's a very big problem. There's no test available for us that we can actually test for spice.
Dr. Michael Levy is not only an emergency room doctor here at Alaska Regional, but he's also the medical director for the Anchorage Fire Department's Emergency Medical Services.
With a lot of addictions like alcohol or drugs like heroin or meth, there are protocols in hospitals to deal with them. Is there one yet for spice?
Not to my knowledge.
Does there need to be?
I'm not sure how we would construct it at this point in time.
Many brought to the emergency room arrive comatose. They exhibit signs of heart and respiratory failure and would likely die without treatment.
It seems like it's just rapidly on a trajectory to getting worse.
It seems that way. It just seemed to sort of appear, and then it escalated.
So how would we go about sort of keeping those people from cycling back in?
How do you deal with somebody that continues to put their hand on a hot stove after they've already suffered a burn? So we have somebody that continues to hurt themselves and is motivated to do so in some fashion.
Why should we as a community care about this? Because this isn't necessarily affecting us right in our own proximity.
And what you say is true. Honestly, this does seem to be clustering among a particular demographic. The reason we should care is that healthcare is a finite resource. There's only so much of it. And in this town, there's only so much of it available. When our resources are extremely drawn to a cluster that becomes basically a mass casualty event, there's no way that that doesn't have some effect on people that have sought care for other reasons.
There are times when every ambulance in the city is tied up dealing with a spice crisis.
Something happens on the hillside, something happens down the highway. If there's a fire or a major accident, there's nobody to help them. This could be front page news because everybody was tied up in the downtown area and there's nobody to respond.
Spice roulette. It threatens more than just those under its deadly influence.
The Firefighters Union worries about the daily emotional wear and tear on their firefighters and EMTs because as a profession, they have higher rates of post-traumatic stress. But we've talked about how increased cases are taking a toll on city resources. Leaders say the first step is to make the dealers pay with jail time. Well, we'll continue this part of the conversation with APD's Lieutenant Sean Case and Chief Dennis LeBlanc with the Anchorage Fire Department.
The Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium provides comprehensive health services for Alaska Native and American Indian people across our state. In addition to world-class care at the Alaska Native Medical Center, our work delivers health services for rural Alaska. From cutting-edge technology for the best care possible, to modern construction of clean water systems and health clinics, to health training and outreach that honors our culture, our vision is that Alaska Native people are the healthiest people in the world.
Even though there's an empty seat, our son will always have a place at our table.
Even though the holidays will never be the same, my sister will always have a place in our family.
Even though life goes on, my mom will always have a place in my heart.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
They feel alone, that if they did end their life, no one would care. And that's where you come in.
I didn't think it was my place to step in,
But I did, and I told them that I cared, and I'd be heartbroken if they died.
You could save a life. No experience necessary. For support, go to StopSuicideAlaska.org.
The only wrong thing to say is to say nothing at all.
When you hear the word cancer, sometimes it's a difficult word to hear and you don't want to accept it. There was just a lot of support right away. It was like everybody just came out and kind of wrapped their arms around me and said it's going to be okay. It's kind of lifted me up to know that there's a lot of people out there who care, who've been in the same situation, who give me hope and motivate me to just be strong and keep going, and that's what I'm doing. So, I mean, you know, when people write in, I wonder sometimes if they don't think it matters, but it does matter.
Some people believe criminalizing spice is part of the answer. That's where a new city ordinance comes in. Right now, the punishment for possessing spice or selling it is a $500 citation. The mayor says that doesn't go far enough. Under a new measure introduced to the Anchorage Assembly, using the drug would be a misdemeanor, carrying a maximum penalty of 6 months in jail and a $2,000 fine. People caught dealing spice could spend up to a year in jail and get hit with a $10,000 fine.
I found a couple of guys dealing spice, called them on it, and they said, "Hell, it's not spice, it's just dope." But it's like, no, there's spice here and it's everywhere. And if we don't stand up and tell people that this is unacceptable behavior in our community, it's going to continue to run rampant.
The ordinance will be up for public comment on November 10th, and if passed, it would be effective immediately. Well, one of the things that we hope to do in this program is spread awareness about spice. Many people, including parents, still think that it's a harmless substitute for marijuana. Well, joining us now to dispel those notions, Anchorage Fire Chief Dennis LeBlanc and Lieutenant Sean Case, who is the day shift patrol supervisor for the Anchorage Police Department. You know, one of the things I guess people are wanting to know is why the current laws don't have much teeth on spice.
Well, currently it's an infraction, so it's a $500 fine to possess spice per package that they have on them. So we take the spice from them, we cite them for the spice that they had on them, and there's no criminal repercussions.
We have some numbers to show the number of citations. You know, they're relatively small, you know, considering the proportion of the cases we have.
Well, a lot of folks that we come in contact with that have used spice, they don't have any on them anymore after they've consumed it. And most of those numbers are coming from people that we believe are the ones providing the spice. And all of those statistics that you saw up there, no one has paid their fine yet for any of those. They're either in default judgment or they're contesting their citation.
And I guess if you're homeless, you're not going to be worried about paying a $500 citation. So what about what's proposed? How would that help you get at the dealers?
So yeah, the focus definitely is going to be on the dealers because we're not going to solve a community problem by targeting the homeless population with criminal enforcement of the ordinance. So what that will allow us to do is get at the dealers with criminal charges, and it will serve to act as more of a deterrent for them because there is up to that 1 year in jail and that $10,000 fine.
That could help, I guess, put a break on this. Now, I can't resist this. We have a little package of marijuana from a woman who is giving out these little packets and asking people to give her spice in return. She'll shred it. You know, that's her solution to getting people to not smoke spice. What do you think about that?
I don't think that the Anchorage community really, I don't think it's logical for us to respond to a population that has higher rates of mental health problems as well as substance abuse with providing them another substance that can be abused. I don't think that's the solution.
So it's not this real solution. So Chief LeBlanc, you've often gone out on these calls with your EMTs just to see what's going on. And what do you think is happening? Do you think that we'll ever see this spike come down?
Well, right now it's unsustainable. When it first really appeared mid-July, it peaked a couple of times, and then actually in September it began to wane, and we were hopeful that it was a fad. Then October happened, and we saw the most spice patients transported over the last 4 to 5 months, with actually 30 in one day. a dramatic increase. So I'm fearful that it's going to continue. And of course, the challenge now is the weather's going to get cold, and the people that we see today that fall are witnessed. People may be falling inside and they won't be witnessed. But my presence there is to support the firefighters and the paramedics, to show them that senior leadership cares, because it's taking a toll on them, picking up the same patient, in one case 11 times.
I know that's hard to see. I mean, I saw it just once for this story, and it got to me. I still can't get the pictures out of my head. Sean, how about with the officers?
Well, we see some of the same issues that the fire department sees. You know, they see this day in and day out. We have the same officers in the same areas of town, assigned the same areas, and you know, in the recent weeks, we've had some of those officers actually asked to be reassigned for a day or two, you know, periodically, just so they kind of get a break of dealing with this same chronic problem, because it does take a toll on them. The other thing is, we know who the dealers are. We've contacted them. We have photographs of them. We've cited them. They know we know who they are. They know we know what they're doing. But without that criminal component of it, we just can't really get our teeth in them and help solve the problem.
Well, let's go back to the numbers, the actual transports. In October being, you know, we had, what, 21% of your calls were suspected spice users. Is that unprecedented for Anchorage? I mean, last year, did they have anywhere the numbers like that?
No, not at all. This is unprecedented. In fact, we looked at a 10-day period in 2014 and compared it to the same period in 2015. There were about 8 transports last year. There were 90 transports this year.
My goodness. And looking at the period from July to now, 14% of your calls were spice users?
It's incredible. We're overwhelming not only our medical units, and we've actually had to put 2 additional units on, and we basically stripped the city. We have to bring in Medical 11 from Eagle River to act as a backup, and then we overwhelm the hospitals. So it's truly a crisis situation, and we're very hopeful that the mayor, working with Chief Tolley and the prosecutor's office, will be able to have somewhat of a hammer before the folks start using the spice, because once they use it, it's just a terrible situation.
Well, Sean, how do you think this whole thing got started? Do you have any theories?
Well, it was almost an immediate phenomenon that started, and it started in the downtown area. We know the time frame that it started in terms of the time of the day. It was, you know, right around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was at Brother Francis Shelter when the homeless population was getting out and starting to move into the streets. And the first couple days, they were introduced to spice for free. It was handed out down there. They were able to ingest it, and day 3 they started charging $1 a use, and it's up to about $10 per joint now that we're seeing on the street. And immediately it increased services both with the police department and the fire department.
So if you're an addict just kind of grabbing for something, it's cheaper than alcohol. Now, one thing I did want to ask you about is with these people that are dealing, I mean, what kind of people are they? Are they part of the homeless population? What do we know? Typically, they're not part of the homeless population. They have some place that they can call home. They have access to the internet, which is where they buy the spice. So it's not the homeless selling to the homeless. So we had a case of a 12-year-old boy. Chief LeBlanc, what do you think about that a 12-year-old boy was found affected by spice?
Personally, it's shocking. As a community, we should be really, really upset that that's happening to our young population.
The first, potentially more when you know, it's kind of like a big red flag jumping up.
Well, the ages have been 12 is the youngest, 69 has been the oldest, and the average is about 37 years old. 85% are male.
So, Sean, what do we know about that particular boy? Was his family homeless?
So he was not from a homeless family. He had a working, caring mother and a sister that was home at the time that he ingested, although it wasn't observed that he ingested it. The mother had actually spoken to him recently prior to him ingesting. So that was not a part of the homeless population. But the concern here is that we're probably going to see more use among our children, because that is also a vulnerable population. That group is targeted in other drug and alcohol to get them started using earlier.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of in the same boat as the homeless. They don't have a lot of money always, so this might be more of a more cheaper high for them.
Correct.
So as we go forward, is there any help that we have nationally with what's going on? Anything we can learn from anyone else?
Well, of course, you had the piece with Dr. Michael Cooper, the state epidemiologist, and we've been looking, we've been looking around the nation, and you find other communities that do have the same problem that we have, but universally, because the chemical there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of alterations of the chemical. No one has been able to come up with a silver bullet to address the problem.
All right, well, we want to thank both of you for being here. Thank you, Chief LeBlanc and Lieutenant Case, for joining us. We always have so much more to talk about, so we'll continue this conversation on our website. Well, next week, we're going to take you to Kotzebue, where teens are sending messages of hope to the village of Hooper Bay, which lost 4 young people to suicide in 2 weeks.
Hey Hooper Bay, I'm super sorry for everything that's going on. Stay strong. Sending all my condolences and prayers. Everything will be okay. Jesus is coming. Have confidence in everything. You'll be okay.
Leaders in the program at Kotzebue High School are putting together a care package for Hooper Bay. Handwritten notes of hope, stuffed animals to hold on to, chocolate for comfort. While teenagers don't know anyone in Hooper Bay, they do know what it's like to deal with the tragedy of suicide. In 2009, the Northwest Arctic School Borough District lost 8 students to suicide. Now, these kids want to share advice on how to work through grief and, most of all, find a reason to live.
No matter what happens in your life, you're always going to have someone there for you. No matter what happens, no matter how hard things get, no matter if school's tough, you're always going to have that one person that you can always go to and talk to, even if you feel like they're not there right now, but they're always there for you.
Now, the Northwest Arctic Borough School District hasn't had a suicide in 6 years, and they credit the student program. Next week, KTVA's Emily Carlson talks with Musher John Baker about his connection to the program and the statewide effort to prevent suicides. Well, in the best of times and the worst of times, there will always be frontiers, always a bigger conversation than we have time for here. So we'll have more on the city's spice crisis, and you can go to the frontier section of our website, ktva.com, where we have extended interviews if you want to know more about this. Well, as always, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.